Welcome you, and welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we really get into the sources you want to explore, digging deep for those, illuminating insights. We're your partners in understanding, really.
That's the goal.
And today, wow, we have a truly beautiful journey ahead. We're going question by question through Law of One, Session 40.
The fantastic session.
It was channeled March 18th, 1981 with Ra. And it just offers this really engaging, positive view on reality, on our spiritual path. It feels very connected, doesn't it? That whole idea. Namaste, I am you, and you are me.
It absolutely does. And session 40, it's striking for how it tackles these fundamental ideas. You have this questioner clearly thinking deeply about the universe.
Yeah, you can tell.
And Ra's answers, they let us unpack it all in incredible detail. So our mission today is to walk alongside that questioner, explore each exchange, and really pull out the maximum understanding for you listening.
Okay, let's dive right in then. Question one. The listener, our fellow explorer here, laid out this whole model. It starts with the logos, our sun, right? Emitting white light, which then splits into densities, red through violet. Then eighth density goes into a black hole, which sort of births a new logos,
Yeah.
starts a whole new octave. What did Ryan think of that big picture?
Well, Ra's response, it's affirming, definitely, but also really nuanced. They basically say, yeah, the core concept is correct. White light comes out, eventually returns.
Yeah.
But here's the subtle bit they add right away. The metaphysical origin before the white light is actually darkness.
Darkness, like a void.
Not a negative void, no. Think of it more like unmanifested potential. The fertile ground, where light emerges from and then gets organized into dimensions we can perceive.
Ah, okay. So potential before the light. That's powerful right at the start.
It really is like potentiality itself.
And what about the other end? The black hole leading to a new logos.
Right. The model suggested a direct jump. Ra clarifies, yes, the black hole is that concentrated white light being pulled back to the one creator, systematically.
Got it.
But the jump to the next octave, not instant. Ra brings in this crucial idea of timelessness.
Timelessness.
Okay? They explain that all of creation eventually gathers enough spiritual mass, like spiritual gravity maybe, forming a great central sun. And this sun is just waiting for activation by free will.
Ah, so it's not just zip, next octave. There's an intermediate stage.
Exactly, a timeless process. Our clocks, our measurements of time, they just don't apply there. So the model was very close, but missed that sort of timeless waiting period within the central sun.
Okay, that clarifies a lot. Now, this next bit is fascinating. The questioner shifts to, actual astronomy observations.
Yes.
Astronomers noticing spiral galaxies seem dimmer than they should be based on their mass.
Right, less light than expected.
And the questioner wondered, could this be linked to an increase in spiritual mass? Maybe in things like white dwarf stars. Was that intuition on track?
Ra says, basically correct. And that it is part of creation cycle. So if you connect the dots, it suggests that as galaxies, mature, maybe more of their being shifts from just bright light to something more like spiritual density or resonance, something our light-based tools don't easily pick up.
To shift in emphasis. That's a really profound way to think about galactic evolution. Okay, let's shift gears again, back to fundamentals. The link between densities and colors. The question proposed a direct map. First density red, secondary, a third yellow, and so on. And suggested this color link ties into the vibration that actually forms photons. How did Ra respond? Was that alignment right?
Ra's confirmation here was strong. They said it's, quote, more correct than you have stated.
Oh, interesting.
So first, yes, there's a basic quantum vibration for each density, and color is a good way to grasp it. But then, the deeper layer. Each density embodies the metaphysical characteristic complex of its primary ray.
Embodies it, meaning?
Meaning, it's not just associated with red for first density. Its very nature is fundamentally the red ray. Orange ray for second density is intrinsically about movement growth, striving towards that yellow ray self-awareness in third.
So each density has this core color identity, its signature vibration, but it's not totally fixed, is it? Like isolated.
Exactly right. Ray explains that while each density is primarily its own true color ray, it's also influenced. There's a pull, an attraction from the next ray up, the color of the next density.
Uh-huh.
And the subtle pull, it kind of shades or tinges the main color of the density you're in. It's a beautiful picture of evolution, isn't it? Each stage holding its identity, but also being drawn forward.
Yeah, much more dynamic.
Mm.
Okay, now thinking about us, individuals. Question 4 was about activating our energy centers, the chakras.
Mm-hmm.
The idea was, as we evolve through densities, would these centers just naturally become fully activated, reach peak intensity by the end of each density, assuming, an ideal path?
Ray agrees, theoretically, but then hits us with reality.
Which-
A being with fully activated centers, actually quite rare.
Really?
Yeah, and what's key here, Rowe emphasizes, is harmony, balance. Yes, the main centers need to function enough to connect with intelligent infinity.
Yeah.
You need that to graduate densities.
Okay.
But fully maxing out every center isn't the norm, or even necessarily the goal. Each center has its own, let's say, speed of rotation or activity.
Right.
The important thing is how they play together, in harmony. Once you hit that minimum activation needed for transition, it's all about the balance, like a well-tuned orchestra, not just loud instruments.
That's a great analogy. Okay, back to vibration, specifically the transition from second density orange to third yellow. The question was, does the actual photon vibration frequency increase as we go from orange to yellow in that shift?
Rowe answer, direct and clear, this is correct.
Okay.
And they add that even within each density, there's already a gradual upgrading happening, a continuous refinement of those vibration levels.
Wow, so it's not just sudden jumps between densities, there's progress inside them too.
Exactly. Makes it feel more like a steady climb, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, so the next question tried to pin it down more. Does the frequency increase specifically from the middle of orange to the middle of yellow during that second to third shift? Raw's answer got a bit more metaphysical.
It really did. Raw said that specific question is difficult to define, and they used it to introduce this really deep concept, true color.
True color. Yeah.
This is where we get into, well, a more abstract reality. True color, they say, is the basic vibration frequency of a density. But we can't precisely define or measure it with our current senses, our science.
Why not?
Because true color has vibrations that exist not just in our space-time,
Uh-huh.
but also in what Ra calls time-space.
Time-space.
Okay.
That sounds like something beyond our normal 3D view, so our perception of color is limited.
Exactly, by our dimensional viewpoint. And according to Ra, this basic true color is then overlaid, influenced by the whole rainbow of vibrations within that density. Plus, it's also tinged by the pull of the next true color, the next density up.
Wow. So what we see as just orange or yellow is actually way more complex, a composite.
Precisely, shaped by loads of factors beyond just one frequency we can measure right now.
Okay, so nailing down an exact frequency shift isn't really feasible in our terms.
Got it.
The next couple of questions bring it closer to home, to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
First, the time it took for the transition between second and third density here on Earth. The questioner suggested about a generation and a half, maybe 350 years. Was that ballpark right?
Ra confirms it. Approximately 4,350 of our years.
Wow. Puts things in perspective, doesn't it? The huge time scales.
Absolutely. Planetary evolution isn't quick.
And then, the big one, the question I bet many listeners have, the timing for our current transition. Third density to fourth, here on Earth. Any timeline given?
Well, Ra's response here really flags the unique weirdness of right now.
How so?
They say it's difficult to estimate why, due to the uncharacteristic anomalies of this transition.
Anomalies? Like what?
Well, notably, they mentioned there are already fourth density beings incarnate now doing their work.
Already here.
But at the same time, the overall third density climate of planetary consciousness is actually slowing things down, retarding the process.
So it's like vibrational friction. Resistance from the dominant thinking slowing the shift.
That's a really good way to put it, yeah. Then Ra mentions these possibility-probability vortices, which hint at a potential window, maybe 100 to 700 of our years for the full transition, but, and it's a big but, they stress this estimate is super uncertain because of the, quote, volatility of your peoples at this space-time.
Meaning, us, our collective choices.
Exactly. Our thoughts, feelings, actions. They play this huge, unpredictable role in how fast or even how this shift unfolds. Our free will is key.
Definitely highlights our collective power, for good or ill. Okay, shifting to right now, the present moment. Has the vibration of photons, of all our particles, already started to increase?
Ra's answer. A clear and emphasized, this is correct.
Wow. And the consequences.
Profound. This rising vibration is causing thoughts to manifest more directly, more tangibly, into physical reality.
And manifest thoughts.
Yeah. Their example is powerful, maybe a bit stark. Intense anger, potentially leading to uncontrolled cell growth. What we call cancer. It's an illustration of that mind-body link becoming more immediate.
That's potent.
Yeah.
Makes you really think about the power, creative or destructive, in our thoughts and feelings.
Absolutely.
So following that, the questioner guessed this increase might have started maybe 20 or 30 years before 1981. How close was that?
Ra gave a slightly earlier start. The first harbingers, the initial signs, began about 45 years before 81, so around 1936.
1936.
Okay, and then the intensity really picked up, vibrated more strongly in the 40 years right before what Ra calls the final movement, the quantum leap.
So early stirrings around the mid-30s, then ramping up significantly into the early 80s.
Okay.
Then the questioner tried to gauge, how far along are we? What percentage of this vibration increase have we gone through?
And Ra's answer here, it's really insightful about how quantum shifts work and how our linear percentage thinking doesn't quite fit.
How so?
They explain our planet's current environmental vibration is actually aligned with true color, green, fourth density.
So we're in it, vibrationally.
The environment is,
Huh.
but it's heavily overwoven, as they put it, with the orange ray of planetary consciousness. That's the lingering second density influence you see.
Ah, okay, like layers.
Sort of. And crucially, Ray mentions the nature of quanta. Moving across a density boundary isn't like smoothly sliding up a percentage scale. It's more like a discrete jump, a distinct placement of the whole vibratory level.
So thinking, are we 50% there, doesn't really capture it.
Not really. It's more about reaching a certain vibrational resonance, a threshold.
Okay, that makes sense. Circling back to thoughts manifesting.
Mhm.
Specifically, the anger and cancer link. Was the question asking if anger is just a catalyst, or is there a deeper purpose?
Exactly. And Wright clarifies that fourth density is fundamentally one of revealed information.
Revealed information.
Meaning, in that higher vibration, our inner imbalances, our destructive patterns, they just become more obvious, harder to ignore.
I see.
So they act as teaching resources for self-revelation. Illnesses like cancer, in this view, become chances to really understand those destructive influences within ourselves.
And to heal them.
Yes. Ross states these things are often very amenable to self-healing once that core understanding, that self-awareness clicks into place.
That's a huge reframing of illness, not just biology gone wrong, but a potential teacher.
A powerful one.
And the next question went into the how of that healing, suggesting maybe just forgiving others could heal cancer mentally. Ra agreed, but added something vital.
Yes, they said the premise, forgiveness, is partially correct, but the crucial missing piece.
What was it?
Self-forgiveness. And cultivating a much stronger sense of self-respect.
Forgiving yourself, too.
Absolutely. And they connect this inner work to outer actions. Like, it often shows up as taking better care of yourself, maybe through diet. So healing isn't just about others. It's profoundly about nurturing self-love, respecting your own being, physically and energetically.
That really resonates. Forgiveness has to go both ways, inward and outward.
Ah.
Which leads perfectly to the next question. General dietary guidelines for taking care of our bodies.
Yeah.
What was Ra's advice there?
Well, first, Ross stresses it's not a strict diet plan. It's more of a psychological nudge.
Okay.
A reminder of that body-mind-spirit connection. The real message is deep care and respect for the self. With that in mind, they basically reiterate the diet given for Carla, the instrument.
Which was?
A base of vegetables, fruits, grains, animal products as needed for the individual's balance. Choices that reflect respect for the physical vehicle.
And was there something specific about purification? For some
No.
people.
Yes. For those actively working to purge poison thought forms or emotion complexes, deeply ingrained stuff, Ross suggests careful, mindful fasting can be helpful. It's like analogous to clearing out physical excess. It helps clear the channel between mind and spirit. Helps with self-revelation. Again, it links the physical and non-physical in healing.
Okay. Now, the conversation took a fascinating turn. Mental effects on physical stuff, like bending metal?
Uri Geller type phenomena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could the current green true color vibration, fourth density, be boosting things like that?
Ross says this is not only correct, but we suggest you take this concept further.
Take it further. How?
Well, they offer this pretty startling insight. Maybe the rise in what we call mental diseases is actually linked to this green ray vibration hitting people who are, well, mentally unprepared. resistant to facing themselves, maybe for the first time.
Wow, that's significant. And maybe unsettling. The same vibration that could unlock abilities might also trigger huge challenges for those not ready internally.
Precisely. It really speaks to the intensity of this transition time.
Okay, nearly there. Penultimate question. What about service to self entities? People on that path, incarnate now. Would they have an extremely hard time mentally with this green ray vibe? The questioner assumed they would.
But Ra corrected that assumption.
Right. What was the nuance?
It's not inherently about the chosen path, service to self versus service to others. The real difficulty, Ra suggests, is for those who've distracted themselves, failed to prepare inwardly for the transition, but are still sort of susceptible to its influence.
So it's more about lack of inner alignment and preparation, regardless of path.
That seems to be the key factor, yes. Inner work matters for everyone.
An important distinction. Okay, and the final question was just practical. Checking on the instrument, Carla. Making sure she was comfortable.
Yes, and Ra's reply was reassuring. Said she was well and that the questioners were conscientious. They also mentioned the supports, the blankets maybe, were helping provide warmth and comfort.
Just a little touch showing the care involved in the process.
Exactly, a small but telling detail.
So this whole dive into session 40, it's been incredibly beautiful, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Really insightful. We've gone from huge cosmic cycles to the nitty-gritty of vibration, the mind-matter link, even practical advice on well-being.
Absolutely. And for you listening, I think some real key takeaways are, well, firstly, just how interconnected everything is. Cosmic evolution, our own consciousness, it's all linked by vibration. Yeah. And the sheer power of our thoughts and emotions, especially now during this planetary shift, that really comes through. Plus, the constant theme of self-awareness.
And forgiveness.
Yes, forgiveness of others, and crucially, forgiveness of self. And self-respect, those seem vital for navigating all this.
It's just so much profound stuff to sit with. I really hope you, our listener, will revisit these ideas, let them sink in. This session makes it so clear we're not just watching things happen, we're actively part of our evolution and the planet's transformation.
Indeed. Which leaves us with a really interesting thought to ponder, doesn't it?
What's that?
As these planetary vibrations keep rising, how will our understanding of that mind-reality connection keep evolving? What happens as we get more attuned to this green ray true color, this fourth density vibration? What new potentials might open up for healing, for growth, for consciously creating our reality?
Powerful questions to carry forward. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this deep dive today. May your own journey be filled with the light and the love of the one infinite creator. Namaste. I am you and you are me.